isn't it a lovely Christmas night? Oh, the snow, the cold.
Right you are, Sister Lizzie. Law, Sister Ann, I remember my first Christmas here after I married Dr. Wallace. The snow was clean up to the windowsill.
Which meant the snow was up past our waist on account of us Todd girls being so short, taking out the mom's side of the family law.
I reckon that's what you would expect from a family that lives in Lexington on Short Street. Oh, no spirits for me.
Leastwise, not that kind.
What do you mean by that, dear sister?
No. Ann is referring to your dabbling in spiritualism, Molly. She's just joshing.
Oh, do any of you hear me laughing? Is there the slightest trace of a smile on my face?
Molly, Annie, Fanny, Christmas.
Annie always did like to provoke me. And should she keep saying things like that to me, the next time we speak, we'll need a clairvoyant, or it'll be her communicating from the other side. We served champagne and wine at the White House because we were expected to. Mr. Lincoln nor I ever touched either.
Well, personally, I'm not averse to spirits at all.
You mightn't drink, Molly, but you're cursed with other traits. Other top traits like brothers David, Levi, and George.
Meaning what?
Only that Papa and Mama were second cousins. Brother George was said to be a mite catched, and Papa was a whit high, strong, and nervous.
And what are you saying, Annie?
What she's saying, Molly, is that there's a good reason for your sometimes erratic behavior.
I can speak for myself, Granny. I'm no ventriloquist dummy.
Well, you're half right.
You must admit, Mary, you have done some questionable things in your life.
Other than claiming you as my sister, what, for example?
Chasing Abraham down 8th Street with a broom, tossing dishes and pans at him. You must remember those incidents. Why, all of Springfield does.
Of course I remember. I may have lost my freedom, but not my memory. I must have been suffering from one of my fearsome headaches.
No, you pay Ann no mind, Molly. She didn't mean anything by it.
Anne always means something by it, and it's mostly mean-spirited.
Molly, I prefer the story of, at 13, you're riding off bold as brass on your new pony to call on Mr. Henry Clay.
Oh, yes, and he saw me, too. I told him he would make a good president, and that if he weren't already married, I would wait for him and live with him at the White House at the Executive Mansion. I thought him the handsomest man in town, and his failure at winning the presidency 3 times was a crime. He was a good Whig. Even Mr. Lincoln voted for him. He and Papa and me were all fiercely loyal to him.
I declare, Molly, in all my born days I never knew anyone so determined to be the center of attention as you.
Well, I had to be, or get lost in the shuffle with 13 of us about. It was like living in a boarding house. But to finish my story, Mr. Clay did not become president. Yet I did marry one and got to the White House after all. I became Mrs. President Lincoln, rising higher than any woman in the country.
And you let everyone know it, too.
I knew what I wanted, and I went after it, and I got it. The difference between you and us is that you and Fanny married up and went down, while I did the opposite. You set your sights lower and settled for less. I married a man who led the nation.
Yes, and the plainest man in the nation.
Well, my goal wasn't to marry a handsome man, but a promising one. I believed Mr. Lincoln could be more than he was.
And you should thank me for that. I went out with him once or twice before you came to town. I found him dull and not much for society.
Oh, isn't that odd now? He used to say the same thing about you.
I can't tell you all how wonderful it is to have you here. Our first Christmas dinner together in quite a spell.
I must confess, Lizzie, it came as a plum surprise to be invited since you stopped entertaining as you once did.
Well, Mary wanted it.
And as usual, Mary got it.
And I am glad that she did. Elsewise, we wouldn't all be here together at this moment.
Hear, hear. 4 of the 9 Todd sisters all together in the same place for the first time in ages.
Abraham always said one deed was good enough for God, but not for the Todds.
Yeah. And he also said that whoever marries into the Todd family gets the worst of it.
It's a shame that the other sisters couldn't be here to enjoy this Christmas dinner. So elegant, so recherché, so en famille.
Oh, Molly, kindly stop being so bigoted and drop the parlez-vous français. We're just home folk here, so speak plain English.
Very well. I will speak plain then. Very plain. For none of you all will ever know how all-fired happy I am that you are here. It makes my job easier.
What are you up to, Mary? Now, there's only 4 sisters here now. There's no more need to compete for attention. Now, look, there may be some doubt about how sound your mind is, but my God, I can hear it clicking over here.
Lizzie, kindly see that everyone's glasses are filled with the spirits that they like to lap up like coon dogs on a hot day. They're going to need fortification. One civil war is over, another is about to begin, and I'm going to fire the first shot.
Now, even during the war, Lizzie, remember that there was a temporary ceasefire.
True, Lizzie, but I'm general in this battle, and I order charge. Earlier, I spoke of loyalty. Where did it go? I'll tell you. Where shall I start? Mayhap in alphabetical order. Annie.
Yes, Molly, and what does loyalty have to do with me?
Not a job, it seems, for you wouldn't recognize it if he stared you in your 2 faces. When your little son perished with typhoid, I was the first at your side to stay for a week and comfort you.
You and I were never close. I never requested your presence.
And how was my loyalty rewarded? Not in kind, not with your comforting presence after Mr. Lincoln's murder.
As I said, we weren't close. And you seem to wish to grow farther away.
You mean from your vicious attacks and slanderous accusations? Yes. Then there were the times while Mr. Lincoln and me were still here in town that I faithfully shopped at your husband's store, buying all the material that I needed for my dresses when there were scads of other better places.
Yes, and then you gussied them all up, adding all sorts of flounces and flowers that made you look like an overly decorated shop window or a parade float.
Well, I look mighty fetching in them, too, unlike any of you all who would feel at home in a nunnery.
In the White House, your gowns were cut so low that it was rumored you were a lobbyist for a dairy farm.
Leastwise, I've got something to show. If you didn't stuff your bosom with so many handkerchiefs, you'd be flatter than 2 flapjacks.
But such style wasn't fit. We were at war. Men, including our brothers, died for their country.
So did my husband.
Yet you chose to prance about Washington in expensive gowns and jewels, holding court as if you were Queen Victoria, the Republican Queen they called you, for our Royal Highness, the Lady President.
The hell came out foot. Organize a hanging bee. Good God, did the people expect me to muffle up in the morning for every soldier killed in the war? Poor unfortunate Annie, I grieve for those who have come in contact with your malice, possessing such a miserable disposition and a tongue long considered sharper than a trowel.
You're talking about yourself, Mary. Your own revered Mr. Lincoln was lent a room in my husband's store to get a waste from your nasty presence.
All right. Lizzie, you, of all sisters, have been the closest and dearest to me, and I thank you for it, but you weren't always perfect.
No. And I might remind you, Mary, neither were you. You know, I've yet to see your image in a stained glass window in the First Presbyterian.
Hold your water, Ninian. I'm aiming to get to you.
The way that you're getting to everyone else, the way you've been getting to people for years, I can scarcely wait.
Lizzie, you've a conscience, and in times of need and grief, I could always depend on you. Yet, you betrayed me by talking to that sidewinder, Billy Herndon, about Mr. Lincoln and me. You called me the most ambitious woman you'd ever known. You dared refer to Mr. Lincoln as crazy.
Everything I told him was the truth as I knew it. And you spoke to him, too.
This isn't about you, Lizzie.
It's not.
Well, I've often regretted your little faults, Lizzie, but after Mr. Lincoln's election, you were the only one of the sisters who rejoiced in my advancement.
When I came to Washington after Willie's death, I thought your grief extreme, dependent upon the companionship of someone, and while I was oft times embarrassed by your actions, well, I was proud and pleased, too.
You know, my dear wife has no call to explain herself to you, Molly. None of us do. And I'll tolerate no more of it. You know, you're residing in this house mainly due to the kindness of her heart. And I will not allow her to be part of this little bizarre trial with you shouting off with their heads.
I'll keep my head, thank you, Mr. Edwards. And so will we all. Now, Mary's resentment and rage has evidently been bottled up for years like aging champagne, and the cork has at last been popped, and we're being served it. Dr. Patterson told me it would be good for her to rid herself of pent-up hostilities by giving voice to them.
Well, she's certainly following doctor's orders.
There were remarks your daughter Julia made about me in a letter that came to the White House, which I'll not repeat.
I had warned Julia to be mindful of what she wrote about you. And whether she did or didn't obey me is immaterial, for the letter was addressed to me. And you shouldn't have opened it, much less read it.
I was curious.
And because of your infernal curiosity, we never spoke for 10 years. Was it worth it? Do you think?
And now we come to Francis. When I was in dire need of help after Willie's death and Lizzie wanted to return to Springfield, I asked but one little favor. To send me your daughter, all expenses paid, to Washington to be my companion. And what did you do, dear Fanny, while you refused to send her?
Yes, I did. And the reason was that, knowing you, she would not have been a companion but a servant. And knowing your reputation in regard to servants, I did not want her subjected to such ill treatment.
I'll have you know I had many loyal servants in the White House and out.
And I'll have you know that their loyalty was paid for by Abraham. Behind your back, he paid them extra to weather your storms without complaint.
That is not true.
Ninian knew. Everyone knew. But you, it seems.
Oh, poof! That's neither here nor there. But the subject of Mr. Lincoln's money is, after your husband was appointed a local paymaster of volunteers, you not only never thanked him or me, but you ignored us both, remaining silent as the Sphinx.
I spoke to Lizzie and others often of Abraham's kindness in giving William his position. I was ashamed that we had lost all our money and had to ask for help. I apologize now, and I thank you. Your generosity saved us from poverty.
No, I accept your apology, Fanny, though it comes 14 years too late. But then you were never punctual. And now, Ninian, as promised, it's your turn.
Sergeant, you know, I'm going to refuse to participate in this little inquisition. This airing of your petty grievances, real or imagined. Listen, you kindly move on to the next letter of the alphabet.
You are the last and the worst, Mr. Disloyalty himself. Whose disloyalties layered one upon the other like blankets on a cold night.
You are not going to rail at me again about how I resisted your marriage to Abraham, are you? I mean, can't we just bury that infernal bone?
No. Though you always were a snob and hated democracy as the devil is said to hate holy water, this bone is different. These slights are real. After Mr. Lincoln helped you in your bid for Attorney General and left for Washington, you turned Democrat and commenced to back Stephen Douglas for senator against my husband and my God. If that wasn't enough, yet again you backed Stephen with Mr. Lincoln when Mr. Lincoln ran as Republican for president. I never saw him so hurt or betrayed.
It wasn't anything personal.
Oh, owl drop-ins. You called him incapable and were against him on principle.
No. I believed Abraham to be honest and quite qualified for the offices. I never hesitated to say so publicly.
To our faces, you were more sugary than a glass of sweet tea, but behind our backs, you stabbed worse than any soldier with a bayonet.
It was strictly politics, Mary. You, above all in this room, should know that.
Was it politics when facing financial ruin, you dared ask Mr. Lincoln for loans, one to pay for this very house, and then defaulted on them? Or when you joined the plague of locusts that swarmed around his presidency like stink after onions, and he appointed you army paymaster? Then, when things began to smell worse than chicken roll on Courthouse Square, you were forced out and resigned. And what were the charges? Oh, yes, personal enrichment and treachery.
And while we're discussing personal enrichment, do diamonds, a black baroche, 4 horses ring a bell with you?
Oh, pure geese cackle. There wasn't a particle of proof that I took anything of the kind. But you, on the other hand...
No, I was $10,000 in debt. My house was mortgaged and would have had to have been sold. Now, you wouldn't want your sister living on the street, would you?
If the next time you remind me this is your house and I'm living beneath your roof, I mustn't forget that it's technically my house. Since we paid for it, you're but a tenant and I'm your landlady.
I once said that you could make a bishop forget his prayers. I shall declare you could make a saint forget his manners.
Yet you must admit it made for some lively dinner conversation. So, there you all are. You have an idea how I suffered at my sanity trial when my quirks and actions and flaws were aired? From A to Z, in your own way, you have all betrayed and embarrassed Mr. Lincoln and me. What do you think you all inspired his speech? A house divided against itself cannot stand. It came from the Bible. Life. Look around at each other. For it was you who fostered it.
Oh, and you didn't marry.
Mr. Edwards.
No, I'm not going to abide being your sister's whipping boys, huh? While she gets off scot-free, she maligns us.
Oh, you never batted an eye when you maligned Mr. Lincoln. Oh, your son-in-law and that paper of his. And just what did I do that was so all-fired bad?
Well, let's see. There was the very public dust-up between you, the wives of General Ord and General Griffin.
Well, because they broke protocol and rode with Abraham before reviewing the troops. And you dressed them down furiously, calling them ghastly names. And Abraham walked away from you in embarrassment.
On occasion, I scarcely recalled. So blinded was I by one of my fearsome headaches. I don't recall.
Blinded by jealousy, as it was said.
When your debts for your furs and your clothes and your jewelry, they grew high as like August corn. Well, you expected the Republican Party to pay for it.
And why not? Hundreds of them were getting rich off of Mr. Lincoln's patronage, and it was only fair that they should help me out. And some did, for I knew things about them that would embarrass them mightily.
Well, it pains me to say it, Mary, but there was more than one person who was glad to finally see the back of you.
And a mighty corpulent back it was, am I?
Leave Molly be. Now, none of us here is without sin, and besides...
Robert, you came! Oh, Merry Christmas!
Hello, Aunt Lizzie. Merry Christmas.
So glad you came, Robert. I swan, Bobby, you look good. Merry Christmas.
I'm so glad to see you, Robert. Boy, we were just talking, just worried about you.
Oh, Lord, there is another letter in the alphabet. What in the tarnation was Lizzie thinking? Well, as Papa used to say, the pigs are going to run through the potato patch.
I'm sorry I'm late. My train didn't leave to Chicago on time. The snow and all. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Have I missed any of the festivities? Hello, Mom. Merry Christmas.
Good evening, Robert.
How are you faring? You look well.
How old should I look, since there's never anything wrong with me in the first place? What are you doing here?
Aunt Lizzie invited me. I brought you all some gifts. I'll put them under the tree later.
You mean my jewels, my furs, my trunks, my reputation, my finances, my freedom, my sanity? Well, there'll need to be a heap of room then, for those are the only gifts I seek or will accept, for they are mine to begin with.
Won't you kindly sit down, Bobby, please? Some wine. I will pour some. We've left a place for you there at the table.
Besides your place of hell, of course.
Thank you, Aunt Lizzie. I have a feeling I'm going to need it.
Caddy never took a sip of liquor. Neither did your father.
I'm not Taddy, Mama, and I'm certainly not Papa.
Well, I'm well aware of that, lacking their warmth, openness, affection, and honesty.
But I do have your lovely, sunny disposition.
Are little Mamie and Abraham good?
Yes.
Mamie's 6 now. I remember because she was born 2 years before Taddy died.
And baby Jessie was born in November.
Shouldn't you be with your wife and family?
I am with my family, Mama. I'm with you.
Oh, you needn't have bothered. Ninian and Lizzie are taking very good care of me. They feed their gibbering idiot daily, throwing food and horses through the bars of my cage, but only after letting me out to walk about the grounds on a leash. The bruises from my daily beating scarcely show, and tomorrow I'm going to be branded on my forehead with an L for lunatic. Isn't this nice, everyone? I have my matron, my turnkey, and now my warden. Here all together on this most holy of nights. I do declare and vow, can't you all feel the Christmas cheer, peace and goodwill towards men?
Molly, Robert didn't come here to argue. He just came to pay his respects.
He doesn't respect me, else he wouldn't have treated me the way he did.
That's not true, Mom.
Oh, Robert, you are such a liar. You'd have to hire somebody else to call your pigs. My head fair aches and has tears for all the things that you have done and treated me.
Something had to be done. You were so obsessed with money and poverty that you auctioned off your old clothes and jewels in New York City like some Paris flea market.
Oh, put! Such a powerful hue and cry from you in the press over such a trifling event ended up costing me money instead of making any.
And also ended up humiliating not only you, but me. It made me look as if I weren't taking care of you. You were unsound in mind and not to be trusted. You needed watching.
I needed funds. Debts were staring me in the face, and I lacked the simplest of the necessities. My God, Robert, wasn't locking me up enough? Did you have to rob me of all I have on earth, too? Would you strip me of my dignity and my independence?
You thought your food was poison. You had premonitions and hallucinated and feared everyone wanted to murder you. You carried $50,000 in securities in your purse and spent hundreds on things you not only didn't need but couldn't afford.
I needed gloves.
89 pairs?
And jewelry.
You wear no jewelry, nor do you wear 3 watches. You bought gowns, yet you still wear mourning clothes like a hair shirt after 10 years. $200 worth of lace curtains.
I got them all at discounts. The dealers took pity on a poor widow woman and remembered who I was.
You had no reason to make those purchases, and nothing I said or did could convince you to the contrary. I was protecting your interest.
Your interest, you mean? I Come on to your game. You had me declared insane so you could control my money.
Only until you could regain control of it. I didn't want you talked of, and I thought you didn't either. I still can't understand why you tried to.
Say it. Say it, Robert. God knows I've no secrets left, no dirty linen unaired. The newspapers have revealed them all, even to printing my age. They always took such delight in printing my age. So, say it. You can't understand why I tried to kill myself. You hear that? I tried to commit suicide. Laudanum and camphor. It didn't work. But it would have been a welcome death for me.
Mama, you know I dislike your talking that way.
How else should I talk? Oh, God, I feel like a building during one of those battles in the war, continually bombarded by cannonballs again and again until there was nothing left but a ruin. Deaths of Eddie and Taddy and Willie and your father, and then boom! Boom! They left me a ruin. If any soul in this room could survive that kind of battering and still keep their sanity, please stand up and be counted.
You needed help, Mama, before you did something to hurt yourself.
You mean rather than you hurting me? Do you have the remotest idea how I felt when out of the blue they came and told me I was to have a sanity hearing? When I asked you for I was told that you were waiting in the courthouse and that it was you, the person I trusted most, who had initiated it. I was threatened with handcuffs if I refused. Me, Mrs. President Lincoln, threatened with handcuffs. And then, to my humiliation, when you and the others, whom I'd never seen before, paraded like a gaggle of geese before the judge, testifying how unsound my mind was, I had no opportunity to defend myself. My money was taken along with my freedom. I was imprisoned in that intolerable place.
Bellevue Place wasn't a prison, Mama.
They locked me in a room at night. They turned off the lights. I wanted to be free. I deserved to be free and wander.
You were more a guest than a patient. You had your own attendant. You were allowed to eat in your own room.
Allowed? Allowed? I'm an adult. I shouldn't need permission from anyone to do anything.
Or you dined with Dr. and Mrs. Patterson. Your room was private and came with a rocking chair and
yes,
a bureau.
along with a woman whose hair was shaved off to keep her from pulling it out, and another who picked at the sores of her face and head. Not to mention the various screams and yells and mutterings and ravings and pounding.
And you could play piano or croquet and take carriage rides and walks. No other patient was favored so. I came weekly to see you.
Yes, just as you didn't visit one of the caged animals in the zoo.
It had all the amenities of normal life.
No one lives a normal life in an insane asylum.
I didn't want you declared insane or have you committed, but you gave me no choice. You've long been a source of anxiety to me.
And you've long been a source of disappointment to me.
Really was your favorite, Taddy or Little Angel, and I was your big disappointment. First it was Papa, then Willie, then Taddy, who one by one carried you as if pack mules, sharing the burden of your moods, sorrows, and needs. Now it was all to me.
So that's why you did this to me, because you feel you were used as a pack mule? You needed to unload your burden? You're a cold man, Robert Todd Lincoln, colder than a stepmother's teeth. I want my money. It's not yours. It's mine.
It's mine until you prove you can control your impulses, which you're not doing a very good job of now.
There's your proof. Ingrate, betrayer. You're not worth the powder it takes to blow you to hell. You ain't fit to roll with a pig. Anyone who suffers, you should have a place in heaven. If I could, I'd stomp you flat.
Molly? Molly?
Let her go, Aunt Lizzie. She'll soon return, all contrite and apologetic, and expect you to forget the cruel things she said. Dr. Patterson warned us that no one could foretell the possible freaks, the demons that might take possession of her, and that she should be placed in a place where no catastrophe could happen. And here isn't it. She'll never change. That's why I was so resistant to this experiment. And it is an experiment, same as in a laboratory. And you've chosen to be the culture plate.
I am sorry to say, Bobby, she has been very embittered against you, and she's talked of nothing but getting back her funds.
It's been impossible to reason with her on the subject. The only alternative, I fear, for the sake of peace and quietness, would be to yield your mother the right to control her possessions.
The statute says she must wait a full year before seeking restoration of her rights and property, and by her current behavior, it'll never happen. Happen.
Oh, Molly, you always had a sense of dramatic, even your letters wrote. Like the last act of Hamlet.
You all finished talking about me? Robert Todd Lincoln, you are the monster of mankind, crooked than a pig's tail, and you must be punished.
Mom!
I hired 2 men to kill you, Robert, but they didn't. So now the task has fallen to me. Get ready to kiss your dead papa.
Where did you get that?
It was Tad's. It was in a steamer trunk. And one of the volunteers guarding the White House gave it to him. Now I want my money and my trunks, and I aim to get them if I have to shoot you to do it. No more excuses, Robert. I shall count to 3, and if you haven't agreed to my terms before these witnesses, I'll drill you more holes than an Italian flute. And I know how. We Kentuckians were born with guns in our hand. Now, I want my money, Robert. I'm entitled to it. You're holding a purse strings, and you're so tight, making it so tight you're choking me. Don't try to swaggle me. I won't have it.
The freaks, Mom! Remember the freaks!
Oh, no! No! God! Yeah. Oh, God! I want to die! I want to die! Oh, God, Lizzie! Lizzie, I beg you, let me die!
Come, Mama. And Missy and me will take you to your room. You can rest there.
Yes, that would be nice. Don't lock me in, please. Don't turn off the lights.
We won't do either, will we, Aunt Lizzie?
No, Molly, we won't. You won't be locked in, and the lights will be left on.
I don't know what came over me. I'm as nervous as a cat in a room full of rockers. I need to lie down. My head's aching. And then all my fears and headaches. I love you, Lizzie. Oh, and I love my sisters. It's just that sometimes I can't help it. I didn't aim for this to happen. I didn't want it to go so far. My rages sometimes consume me. They always have. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
We know. Yes, dear, we know. We understand. We always have.
The freaks got a hold of me, Bobby. Like they did the other times. I tried to fight them, but they overpowered me.
I know, Mama. They're gone now. Like a bad dream. And we'll let you rest.
Yes. I need to rest. Oh, God, my legs. I need to rest.
Minion, will you kindly bring some more wine for us?
Minion, please do let leave the bottle.